Have you ever felt like you're falling behind? Not because you're reckless, not because you're lazy, but because everywhere you look, it seems like everyone else is doing better. Picture this. You're driving home. Your car is fine. It runs. It's paid for. Nothing wrong with it. Then a newer one pulls up next to you, bigger, cleaner, louder. For a second, you wonder, how are they affording that? You know their job. You know roughly what they make. You might even make more. And yet, there it is. The car, the confidence, the feeling that somehow they're ahead. Or maybe it's not the road. Maybe it's later. You're on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling without thinking. Trips, new apartments, nice dinners, upgrades everywhere. Nothing outrageous. Just enough to make you feel slightly behind. You don't feel jealous. You feel confused because the math doesn't make sense. You're responsible. You didn't skip steps. You didn't gamble. You did what you were supposed to do. So why does it feel like you're losing? That question sticks. It follows you longer than it should, not loudly, quietly. It shows up when you hesitate before spending, when you second-guess choices that used to feel fine, when being careful starts to feel like falling behind. And the worst part? It doesn't even feel like you want what they have. You just don't want to feel like you're doing something wrong. So, before we talk about money, before we talk about success, there's something we need to clear up. If everyone looks like they're winning, what are you actually looking at? What you're reacting to isn't their life. It's the version of it that reaches you. A moment, a snapshot, a single angle. You see the car, not the payment, the apartment, not the lease, the trip, not the credit card statement waiting at home. From the outside, it all looks clean, effortless, intentional. That's because the messy parts don't travel well. No one posts the spreadsheet. No one shares the anxiety before the payment clears. No one highlights how tight the margin actually is. What you see is the output, not the inputs. And the human brain is terrible at adjusting for that. It fills in the gaps with assumptions that they're ahead, that they figured something out you missed, that you took a wrong turn somewhere. But most of the time, nothing special happened. No breakthrough, no secret strategy, no sudden leap forward. Just a series of decisions that prioritized appearance over flexibility, comfort now over room later, certainty over optionality. That doesn't make them dishonest, it makes them human. Because modern life quietly rewards visibility. The things that look like winning are often the things that are easiest to show. A purchase, an upgrade, a milestone with a price tag, the things that actually build stability, those are invisible. Saying no, waiting, leaving space, you don't notice those because they don't announce themselves. So when you compare your life to what you see, you're not comparing equals. You're comparing your full reality, doubts, trade-offs, restraint, to someone else's highlight reel. And that comparison is never fair. It quietly shifts the goalposts. Suddenly, doing fine feels like losing. Stability feels boring. Caution feels like failure. Not because your situation changed, but because your reference point did. That's the illusion. Winning starts to look like motion, like upgrades, like visible progress, while the things that actually protect you remain unseen. So before assuming everyone else is ahead, there's a harder question worth asking. Are they really winning? Or are they just easier to notice? Here's the part most people miss. This illusion isn't accidental, it's engineered. Not by one villain, not by some secret group, but by a system built around making expensive things feel normal. The trick is simple. You're rarely shown the full price. You're shown the monthly one, not what something costs, but what it costs right now. 400 a month doesn't feel extreme, neither does 6, especially when everyone around you is paying something similar. Cars, phones, furniture, homes. Everything gets translated into a manageable number, a number that fits neatly into a paycheck. So instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" you're nudged toward asking, "Can I handle this payment?" That small shift changes everything. Because payments don't measure ownership, they measure endurance, how long you can keep going, how stable your income is, how little room you can live with. And the system is very good at finding the exact point where something feels just barely doable. That's why it works. People don't buy what they can comfortably afford. They buy what they can survive. From the outside, it looks like progress. Newer, bigger, better. From the inside, it's a calendar filled with obligations. Every upgrade adds another line, another fixed commitment, another decision that's already been made for you. But none of that is visible. What's visible is the result. The car in the driveway, the keys on the counter, the lifestyle that looks confident. So when you compare yourself to it, you're not comparing savings, you're comparing obligations. And obligations are easy to mistake for success when everyone around you carries them. That's how the illusion spreads. Not because people are lying, but because the system makes the burden look like a win. And once that framing takes hold, not playing the game starts to feel like losing, which quietly pulls more people in, not to get ahead, but just to stop feeling behind. Once that illusion is everywhere, it stops being neutral. It starts applying pressure, not loud pressure, quiet pressure, the kind that shows up in small moments. When you hesitate before spending on yourself, but don't think twice about upgrading something visible. When you feel responsible for being careful, but slightly embarrassed by it. When restraint starts to feel like weakness. That's not an accident. Humans don't measure success in isolation. We measure it relative to the people around us. So when winning looks like movement, upgrades, and visible progress, standing still begins to feel like falling behind. Even if standing still is what's actually protecting you. The lion feels it too. Not as envy, as tension. A constant low-grade sense that he should be doing more. That if he's not advancing, he's missing something. So decisions shift. Not toward what's best, toward what relieves the pressure. A nicer car doesn't just look better, it silences the comparison. A bigger apartment doesn't just offer space, it signals that you're still in the race. These choices don't come from greed. They come from wanting the feeling to stop. And once you make one, there's a strange relief. For a moment, you look like everyone else. But the relief fades, the payments remain, and now the pressure is internal. You can't slow down. You can't step back. Because stepping back would mean admitting that the signal you sent was borrowed. So the lion keeps going. Not because he wants more, but because slowing down feels dangerous. This is how the illusion turns into a trap. It doesn't force you, it nudges you, until your life becomes a series of decisions made to keep up appearances, not to create peace. And the most unsettling part? From the outside, it still looks like winning, which makes it even harder to question. Because when pressure becomes normal, confusion starts to feel like failure. And that's exactly what keeps the cycle going. This is where most videos would end with advice. Spend less, invest smarter, stop caring what others think. But that would miss what's really happening. Because the problem was never taste, or discipline, or intelligence. It was the definition of winning you were handed. A definition built around visibility, around upgrades, around things that can be seen. The lion realizes something quiet. Most of what actually protects him looks unimpressive from the outside. Margin doesn't shine. Flexibility doesn't announce itself. Saying no doesn't photograph well. Waiting doesn't look like progress. But those are the things that create space. Space to pause, space to choose, space to absorb mistakes without panic. The people who look like they're winning aren't necessarily ahead. They're often just louder. Louder payments, louder upgrades, louder signals, and the people who look behind? They're often carrying less obligation, less pressure, less need to prove momentum. That's the part that's easy to miss. Because once the illusion takes hold, peace starts to look like stagnation. Calm feels suspicious. Stability feels like settling. So the lion reframes the question. Not, How do I catch up? But what would my life look like if I stopped competing in a game that only rewards appearances? That question doesn't demand an answer. It creates clarity. Because winning isn't about looking like you're moving forward. It's about knowing you could stop. Knowing that one unexpected month wouldn't undo everything. Knowing that your choices belong to you, not to the image you're trying to maintain. That kind of winning is quiet. It doesn't impress strangers, but it changes how you sleep, how you decide, how you breathe. And once you see that, the comparison loses its power. Not because you're above it, but because you finally understand what it was costing you. That's not the end of the illusion, but it's the moment you stop letting it decide what winning means. If this video changed the way you think, hit like and subscribe. More ideas like this are coming. See you in the next one.